Hi there.
Hi, Heroes and Heroes. Once again, YouTube Live on Friday. And today we want to talk about the hero's journey. One thing that is really somewhat of a core of our courses and workshops and coachings.
Yes.
By the way, if you're right at the moment struggling with finding your own purpose, overcoming limiting beliefs, finding your values or stuff like that. If you're just stuck with the way your life goes right now, we have a wonderful hero coaching.
Hero coaching, yes. I will put a link below for applying for the hero coaching, or you can just shoot me an email.
Yeah, but for now, today, let's talk about the hero's journey, and that's a lot. That has a lot to do, and it always goes back to Joseph Campbell, who wrote a really comprehensive book, long book too, about the hero's journey, where he really wrote down all the steps of a hero's journey, and he looked at a lot of myths and myths.
The monomyth, myths in general.
And found out that a lot of myths are based on these steps. Not all of them, not all of the steps, but still. And I want to start with a quote. And this quote goes, "Whether I shall turn out to be the hero of my own life, or whether this station will be held by anybody else, these pages must show." And I really love this quote because it's but it's from David Copperfield, and this is from Charles Dickens. And I really like this because it leaves this journey up to you in a way. If I think of myself as the hero of my own life, it's really up to me to create the life I want. What do you think?
Yeah, that's true. Like taking this responsibility. I think that's true.
And I really like this open, the pages are still open, that are unwritten. It's not determined, but you're the one to determine what is written
yes.
into the book, whether these pages are empty as long as you
this
decided.
Kind of entails that you're determining your own path in a way. It's just you need to kind of find that path in a way. So take the responsibility and be courageous, and also be aware kind of where you're heading and where you want to head, and then try to face all the challenges. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, so Joseph Campbell talks a lot about the archetypes in the hero's journey, and he divides the hero's journey into 3 parts. And actually, these 3 parts have 17 steps, and not all of them are necessarily part of any hero's journey, but they can be, and loads of them are.
You have to memorize all of the 17 steps.
But
no. Just kidding.
That's a challenge of its own. But let's start with the three main steps.
Like the major blocks of the parts.
Major blocks of the hero's journey. So the first one being the departure. And I always like to refer to Star Wars because it's practically based on Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. So oftentimes in the departure phase, you have a call to adventure, something that makes you go outside. To leave the familiar world behind. And in this, in the first, or rather episode 4, A New Hope.
Of Star Wars.
Yes, yeah, of course. There you have the droids arriving at Tatooine, and something happens. They come with a message of Princess Leia, and Luke is compelled to leave. But at first he refuses. This is something else. This is the refusal of the call. You often have that in heroes' journeys too. You don't want to do that in the beginning, and he thinks back his uncle and aunt. They need his help, where he really wants to go, but he still feels as if he can't really. So he is in his own way, and we often have that too, that we really want something, but something holds us back. And something else we can have is a benign helper in hero's journey. So here it is the droids too. They help him to see that he has to go, and it's also Obi-Wan Kenobi who becomes his mentor and helps him on his way and gives him wisdom and knowledge.
Can I just quickly ask also, because this term familiar world is something that we use a lot, and especially in Herociety we throw this term out all the time, but what is the familiar world? Like, in a way, it's your community, it's the society that you normally live in.
Well, when you think about Star Wars, it's Tatooine. When you think about Lord of the Rings, it's the Shire. When you think about Harry Potter, it's the Muggle world. But you can also think about your own life, like you say. It's can also be your old patterns of thinking, your limiting beliefs that can be kind of comforting in a way because you know them so well.
Yeah.
And even though you don't like them, it still feels comfortable just staying in this familiar.
It's kind of you're putting a location on your state of mind in a way. I mean, there's this saying, I was in a bad place, and it not always taken literally. It means that you were in a bad state of mind or something like this. So it's that's interesting. Yeah.
Well, the hero's journey always means overcoming the fear of the unknown because you don't know what will happen. So there's this refusal of the call also means that you want to stay with your old fears, even though you don't like your fears, of course, but sometimes the fear of the unknown is even more scary, is even scarier than the fear that you know.
All right.
Yes. So
that's the first phase, right?
That's the first phase. So let's quickly go through the next phases. The next phase is the initiation phase. He calls it the initiation phase. It's also a phase of transformation. So we can have still some sub-steps here. For example, this is where the hero or the shiro gets his or her weapon. In Star Wars, this would be the lightsaber that Luke receives.
Where he's practicing with
Obi-Wan Kenobi from his father, actually inheriting it from his father, and then he also goes through tests and trials and errors, and he sets out, and they encounter the Death Star, and they are pulled into this Death Star and have to find a way to get out again. And then they find Princess Leia and they rescue her, but they get trapped in a garbage compactor.
Yes.
I think it was. And there they are, but they get rescued in a way in the end, and then they go out. They manage to flee, but Obi-Wan is left behind and gets killed. Oh. This is also
don't spoil everything. Okay.
Well, I guess. Sorry for spoiling. And it can also be the step where you get all the knowledge. Well, Luke learns how to use the Force and how to overcome his fears, and he gets all the skills to fulfill his destiny, so to speak, to destroy the Death Star.
Yeah.
This is also the step where he actually destroys the Death Star. And so the last step is the return phase. This is where the hero or the shiro, they come back with all the wisdom they gain, and they have to find out how to retain the wisdom, how to pass it on. They have mastered something, and they now are the masters or the mistresses of the two worlds. And this could be the realm of the spiritual and the physical realm.
Like in many anime movies. Or
yeah.
Even in Star Wars, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also a kind of spiritual journey in a way. You pass into the underworld. This is often the case in mythology, like Hercules going to the underworld to get the dog Cerberus. Was it? I don't know. I just know it in German. Sorry. Cerberus.
Cerberus.
I think
Cerberus. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Well, the dog with the three heads, and the snakes as hairs. But you often get this passing through the underworld and then coming back with something. This can also be seen as in a figurative way. You overcoming a fear, and then you have gained something new.
Yeah.
So now we know that. We know that the hero's journey is divided into 3 steps: the departure, the initiation phase, and the return phase. We can look at our own stories and try to tell them
in a similar structure.
In a similar fashion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So a way to do this is the PLPAS model, standing for person, location, problem, action, and solution. Mm. And we can do that now, and you can do it also when you watch this, or you can do it with somebody else. This is often quite fun.
It's fun to do it too.
Try to do fictional stories based on this. This is actually built based on the monomyth, on Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. And the way it goes would be, now I say the person and you say the location, and then I say the problem and you say the action, and then I say the solution. So
all right, let's try it out.
Let's start with a person. So we have a person. Let's say Robin is a very small dwarf, smaller than any other dwarf, and he always wears this dress made of silver leaves.
Okay, so now I say the location. He's running around in the deep, dark forest, long away from home.
So now we have the problem. In the deep, dark forest, he gets lost, and he's almost blind because it's so dark and he can't see anything.
Yes.
So then we have the action.
The action needs also to be something that he decides consciously, right? Mm-hmm. As a response to the problem.
Yeah, this is the main feature, the main skill of the hero.
It can't be a random action.
It can't be a random action. It needs to be something that the hero does.
That's a challenge right now. So let me think.
Of this, to solve the problem.
Okay. So after controlling his fear and just relaxing for a bit, he stands still to listen. Because he knows the forest so well, he listens very carefully, and he listens for the wind and the branches, and also he kind of feels there's a bit of light coming through from above, and he tries to direct himself, and he recognizes some familiar sound of the wolf packs close to his home.
So then we have the solution. That's the result of the hero's action. So he listens to the wolves and he comes closer and closer, always stretching out his hands to feel for any kind of obstacle. And he finally gets out of the forest. So the wolves have let him out of the forest.
Perfect. He survived.
And this is really a fun game to do, and very good to understand the simple monomyth, the simple hero's journey.
Yeah, and it's good if you try it out with 2 or more people, that each person can try different roles, so you're not always the problem or always the solution or location, whatever it's, so you change around. Yeah.
And you see that the problem here is belongs to the departure. It's the call to adventure. The dwarf goes out, sets out, and he encounters an obstacle, and then he takes an action, and this is the initiation of the dwarf, of the hero. And then there's the solution that belongs to the return, and this is the way the hero's journey is resolved. And you have the person, of course, and you have the location, because you need a protagonist, and mostly in a personal story that's always yourself, and the location just makes it more vivid, more comprehensive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now that we have this, we can also apply the hero's journey, this structure, to a personal story, and we will show you how to do that with just a few simple questions. So I will ask you a few questions, and you
ready.
and you will tell a story, and you can also use these questions to think about your own story.
Okay, so I'll tell my personal hero story now through your question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first question would be, what is the fear that you overcame? This is the overriding question. And regarding that, how was the situation when you still felt this fear?
Yes. I mean, earlier I was so, in a way, perfectionistic that I had this fear of, even though I knew something, then I didn't want to tell that or express myself, because I was afraid that it wasn't the whole truth, or it wasn't perfect. So I remember sitting at the university. I just started at the university, and we had this kind of group work where we were sitting in the library and drinking coffee. So this it was also my first time drinking coffee, by the way. So this nice smell of coffee, you can imagine, books around us, surrounded by books. And we were sitting at this small table, 4 people, and discussing math exercises, because it was like studying in math and physics. And I mean, I had some ideas how to solve that, but I didn't say anything. I was just keeping quiet because I was unsure of myself. I had this fear that, well, maybe it wouldn't be good enough. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we have here the departure phase, as the familiar world.
And we have the person, that's me, and the location.
So you always start with the familiar world in the hero's journey. So the next question would be, how did you overcome this fear?
I mean, Well, first I would say I had this fear for a long time throughout, but I chose this university scene because it was obvious. And then a few years later, I mean, I was kind of a bit conscious about this, so I started working on it a bit. But then a few years later, I discovered a book, and it was actually kind of a self-help book about flirting and talking with women. I was also unsure in this area, so I was reading a book about this subject. And there was this quote that hit me. I don't remember a lot of this book, but this quote was that you don't always need to be right, or like said in another way, that what you say doesn't need to be the absolute truth for all eternity and in all contexts. So, say an example, you can have an opinion today, and then the next week you can even have the opposite opinion because you change your state of mind, your environment, or whatever it is. And that kind of, I was thinking a lot about that quote because it freed up my mind that I didn't need to be perfect in all contexts. I could just say my mind, even though it wasn't the whole truth or even the truth or like whatever. And then if I was wrong and I found it out later, I could say that. So it kind of started this process of freeing up my mind to just say whatever is on my mind because it's something I believe. It doesn't need to be absolutely true at all times, just what is true for me in this moment.
Mm-hmm. And how did this change your mind? How did this change your life?
Well, it led me down on this path of becoming much more free to just be myself and express myself freely. So I don't have this mental challenge going on anymore that's like, am I saying the right thing? Should I be saying it? Should I not? Should I keep quiet or not? I just say what I want to say in a given situation. Yeah, so I feel more free.
And just a follow-up question is, do you have an example on how you would behave nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, for example, I mean, I don't hold myself back in the same way. So I don't need to like pretend that if I say something, I don't need to pretend that I know the whole truth. I can just, I don't know if I have a concrete example actually, but well, I think it's because it's so ingrained in my daily life. It's everywhere.
Yes. Yeah. But there we have it, actually, the 3 parts of a hero's journey. And we have the start, where you still have your fear. And you described your fear of expressing yourself. And then this is the departure phase. And then you get the call to adventure, which is you want to learn more about flirting with women. And then you read this book for another purpose, actually. But while reading this, you find out that expressing that that you can just express yourself without being too worried about how it is received.
Yes.
And then you try it out, and it actually turns out to be not that bad. And you now have the knowledge. So this was the initiation, and you come back with the knowledge that you can use in future situations, and that you can also pass on through this story. So this is another point. This is quite valuable. And you see, you can write something or say something to any of these questions, like the first one being, what was the situation when you still had this fear? And the next thing, what changed? How did this fear change? How did you challenge this fear? And then how did that fact, this overcoming the fear, change your life? Wow. This is actually the 3 parts of the hero's journey. And if you tell the story, you can make it as vivid as you want. What makes it more vivid is that go really into detail at some points. For example, like you did in the beginning, you told this, you went into detail when you talked about the library situation. Like we could smell the coffee and we could see the books, and you were sitting at the table with the other students. And
yes, that was easy for me because I had it was this moment I chose as kind of a representative of the whole context for me, and that was made it easier to describe it.
Yeah, and you can also go deeper into what did you think at the time? Really, what try to live the story and experience the story while you tell it. That makes it more vivid, and you can do that throughout this telling of the story part.
In all parts.
Yeah.
All right.
And it makes it always more vivid to go into detail with location and describing the scenery and describing how you feel. Not telling how you feel, but really experiencing and expressing how you feel. This has also some psychological effects. Reliving this and gaining more insight into what you really thought at the time, and remembering the situations.
Yes. Oh.
It also gives you a hint on how to apply your new knowledge to new situations and how to pass it on. I mean, stories are always there for gaining understanding of yourself and passing on understanding too. So this was quite a long live session too.
But really interesting.
Well, I hope you found this interesting, and I hope that this helps you to tell your story. Doesn't matter for what you use it, and do the exercise, try to answer the questions, and we always look forward to reading your comments. And
subscribe to the channel if you want to get notified about future live videos. We will post every Friday at 5 p.m. Central European Time, CET. And check out our website if you're interested in what we're doing.
Yeah, and once again, if you right now are in the process of overcoming a fear and you are not quite sure how to go about it, you can just book the hero coaching.
I'll put a link below about what it's all about. So
yeah, and the first session is always for free. So
for free.
Hope to see you soon.
See you soon. Have a nice weekend.
Bye.
Bye.